Hi, I'm your host, Lorne Epstein. Welcome to another episode of the Lorne Epstein Show, where we are broadcasting from Unleash in Las Vegas, Nevada. Unleash is an HR technology conference. And today I have a very special guest. For those of you who have never heard, there is a website called LinkedIn. If you've never heard of this website, turn off the show, go away, don't come back, because you're completely under a rock. LinkedIn has been around for over a dozen years, and it is one of the largest, well, it's definitely the largest business network, but it's one of the larger social networks of folks who want to get jobs, want to find people for jobs, want to do marketing or engage people in a business way. And today we have with us real special guest, Dan Francis. Dan is the Senior Product Manager at LinkedIn. And Dan is going to be discussing, and other things, I'm gonna grill Dan a little bit, but he's gonna be talking about the new Talent Insights product and the approach that they're developing to help companies like yours use data and insights to inform their talent strategies. Did I get that right? Yeah. See, I'm a good show. If you're listening to the show, it costs nothing to show.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. Welcome to the show, Dan. I appreciate your sense of humor. So tell me what that means, what you do at LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a senior product manager at LinkedIn. That means that I work pretty closely with an entire R&D team. It encompasses engineers, designers, data scientists. And really, my job is to meet with clients, understand what their needs are, and bring a team together to help solve those problems. And specifically, the product that I work on is called LinkedIn Talent Insights. So historically, LinkedIn's products for recruiters have basically focused on helping individual recruiters find and engage with talent. But increasingly over the last couple of years, we've heard a lot more feedback from executives from other functions across HR. They'd love to actually understand different aspects of LinkedIn's data, right? They're trying to answer questions like, where should they open a new office? Or how do they identify the skills that they need to build or acquire in order to win in a new market? And so what I've done is I've spent about the last 18 months or so meeting with hundreds of clients that have these types of questions in order to determine, what's the right product for them. And, we're excited to share that we'll be releasing a new product called LinkedIn Talent Insights later this year that is aimed at exactly that audience and solving those types of questions.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the graph, right? So LinkedIn has how many hundreds of millions of?
About 550 million members.
550 million members.
Yes.
That's a huge number. And this is worldwide.
That's worldwide, exactly.
And would you say there's obviously probably a higher adoption in English-speaking countries?
Yeah, that's where we started, but we're growing across all markets.
Right. And China?
China is actually one of our fastest growing markets today.
Is it?
Yeah. And it's one of the markets where we've actually got a team on the ground that is building, distinct products for that market.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And when I sign up, right, I create a profile that, by the way, isn't validated right now, right? And there's a lot of, one of the things, we're talking about some of the great things about LinkedIn and also some of the, I think, challenges that I as a user have experienced. But none of the things I put on there are verified.
Yeah.
So when I look at someone else's LinkedIn page, I'm not 100% sure if that's true. And given that this is in the business world versus like Facebook, which would be in the Facebook world, I don't really care if what they have on there is true.
Totally.
It'd be interesting to understand how that non-validation of data kind of affects people's use of it, because I get tons of requests now, more than ever before, for people to be my friends.
Yeah.
And when I get that, and sometimes some of the people who say, I want to be your friend, they have like 3 friends. And I don't think that that's a real profile.
Totally.
So I won't accept it, right? And I know that you're not responsible for all of LinkedIn or all the products they develop, but this is something I think that is on a lot of users' minds, like how valid these folks are. Is LinkedIn thinking about or addressing this problem?
Oh, absolutely. And I think we're thinking about it and addressing it in multiple ways. So for us, ensuring that there's a great member experience is paramount. That's the number one thing that we think about. And you're absolutely right. If there are a high number of fake profiles on the site, that is something that would detract from the value that end users are able to get from it. So we think about this from a couple of ways. One is we want to make sure that it's easier for us to identify that people are real members that are signing up. So you'll actually notice now if you sign up recently, we'll ask you for a phone number or other types of information. When people are surfacing in search results and other aspects of the product, we'll go ahead and look at other signals, like how frequently they've logged in, the information that they have in their profile, in order to determine whether or not we think it's a real person, right? And we're also thinking about how we can help members show that the information on their profile is valid. So as we think about certifications and validations, other ways for them to communicate their authentic self.
Would you bring in third parties to do some of this validation?
We already do that.
You are?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I put my degrees on there and that wasn't validated.
No, so degrees aren't...
or my SHRM SCP is not validated.
Yes, so there are certain certifications that are not validated today.
Yeah.
But that's absolutely something that we're thinking about and working on. Today, actually, if you take any online courses, so Coursera, there's a whole host of other sort of platforms that are out there, we'll actually integrate with those and we'll pull in those certifications.
Well, which would be great too, because then it's a real person who actually did it, so obviously.
Totally. So I'd say it's a work in progress, but it's absolutely something that we're very focused on.
And I joined LinkedIn like in 05 or 06, something like that. And there was nothing. It was just like you set up a profile.
Yeah.
But since then, it's a lot of data goes in there.
Yeah.
I think my phone number is in there.
Yeah.
I know because you bill me, you have all my billing information.
Yeah. Thank you for being a customer.
You're welcome. Yeah. So and I was telling Dan before, like I really want to love LinkedIn because I think it's just it could be a great tool. But it's been a little weird between us lately. But anyway, that isn't really the point of the show. I wanted to talk about the product that you guys have released. So let's hear about it. What does this do for the users who want to use LinkedIn in a way that hasn't been used before? How can the HR staffs get a sense of, like, for instance, so we would do this, right? I've done this using LinkedIn. I worked for a telecom company. I wanted to know what was the population of people in my area who would be good for these jobs. So I searched other competitors, printed out all those folks, that looked like they would be that kind of person. I could say, okay, here's the pool of people. This is what they look like. And by the way, these 100 people came from these companies. They had these jobs before. So if we're looking for people like that, here's what we would do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? That would be a way of me doing that. And it was all manual, and I had a lot of couple of hours of handwork.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how many people tell us that exact same story. So I mentioned earlier this listening tour when we went out and spoke with a few hundred clients, executives about the challenges that they face. And actually this behavior of, hey, I've got a question, and in some cases it's very tactical, like literally I'm doing recruiting, and I know after speaking with business leaders that I'm going to need to recruit 100 engineers over the course of the next 6 months, right? How exactly do I do this? Well, if I open a bunch of recs, they're not going to fill themselves. I need to think about where am I going to place these? What is the criteria that I'm going to use for the actual recs? I need to think about how much these people need to be paid. And so as we think about this and these types of questions that are surfacing, we want to make it much easier for people to answer these types of questions. On the other hand, there's also questions that are infrequent but are very critical. To give you a specific example, today I co-presented with Chris Louie, who is a client of ours. He's at Nielsen. He's the SVP of talent at Nielsen. And they had very specific challenges around recruiting data scientists. And they're interested in trying to identify which new markets they actually want to go enter. So, which cities they want to place these recs in, the skills that they want these data scientists to have. And so, that's a bit of a less frequent question, like, should I open a new office? But you'd use the same data points to answer these types of questions. And we have this data that sits all across LinkedIn, information about the supply of talent, so the number of members that are on LinkedIn, the skills that they have, as well as demand, so the number of people that are reaching out to this talent, the number of job posts that are targeting this talent, how much they're being paid, so salary information. And what we want to do is collect all this information and surface it in an easy-to-use interface that allows people to very quickly answer these types of questions.
And this is what you've put together?
This is what we put together.
Great. So I can. So if a hiring manager comes to me and says, "Hey, Lorne, where's that developer in wherever?" And I'm like, I've been looking. I can say, well, listen, let me go get the market data. And I go to my LinkedIn thing and boom.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. And can I ask, when's this rolling out?
Oh, it's rolling out later this year. So it's currently being tested with a handful of early charter clients who are helping basically co-develop the product with us. But we expect it to be released later.
Are you looking for more early charter clients?
We'd love to chat with you more about it, absolutely.
I mean, so we're putting this out there. So if folks, because people can be able to contact you afterwards, if they're listening to the show, they may want to be an early charter client. So sometime Q4 of this year?
Yeah, sometime Q4 this year is when we expect the full product to be released. But if there are questions.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. This is a constant thing. Like so I lead talent acquisition for a government consulting company. And often the government, agency will be like, find me this. And our project manager's like, we can, but if I can give him data that he can then take to the client, he can say, look, I can't because here.
Yeah.
Or I can and I will because of here. We can give some data to back up the assertion.
Absolutely. And the amazing thing is, so now that we've had a handful of clients that have been using this, I think that there's kind of two big themes that we're seeing. So one is, oftentimes clients have a good recruiters have been generally in their markets for quite a while, so they develop an intuition for certain things. And as they're communicating with hiring managers, they want to back up those opinions with data, right? And so to be able to say, hey, I've got this is my assessment, this is what I think, this is how I think things are going to play out, and here's the actual data to support it, it ends up accelerating the ability for people to make decisions, right? And it helps them make much more effective decisions. Now, one other thing I want to mention is, in addition to the talent pool reports, we also provide information about companies. You can view your own company, but you can also view any other company that's on LinkedIn. And what we're trying to surface is key workforce trends. So as an example, the number of hires that a company has made, how this is changing over time.
Or migration.
Right. Migration's a great one, right? Yeah. How people are moving between companies. Right.
Because I'd love to see, is there a flow of people into my company from some particular route?
Yeah. And it's such a common question, and I was surprised by this because I expected this to be something that people would do exit surveys on and have a good sense for. And pretty consistently, the answer that's come back is, yeah, we do this, but a lot of times people don't know, they don't tell you.
Right.
But
exit surveys are the worst.
Totally. And earlier you mentioned going through on LinkedIn and trying to tell the story. So many companies do this, right? They'll do an audit at the end of the year and they'll ask, where did our people actually go? And we want to basically take this work and make it far easier for people to answer these types of questions.
Cool.
Yeah.
So what do you think the cost is going to be on this?
We're still working through the pricing model, but our goal is to make this something that's accessible. So there won't be any restrictions on the types of companies or company sizes. It'll be something that'll be available for everybody.
Because right now, getting like a basic LinkedIn membership, it's like $60 or $90 or like $120, and then LinkedIn Recruiter is like $14,000.
It's a bit less than that, but it is. Yeah.
Between there.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the middle, or.
We don't know yet. Yeah, I think we're still working through the details, but it's something that we'll be sharing at the end of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if it's affordable or if it's included in LinkedIn Recruiter, that'd be great.
Yeah, totally. And
because it'd actually make LinkedIn Recruiter more valuable because it'd be a tool that then I can actually leverage LinkedIn Recruiter in a much more fundamental way.
Absolutely.
Right. I wouldn't be just kind of willy-nilly.
Yeah.
It would actually help me with my targeting.
Totally.
Right. It's radar.
Yeah.
In a way. Right. It's looking out throughout the graph and saying, here's where you should be focusing your attention, and here's not where you should be focusing your attention.
That's a great analogy. I might steal it if you don't mind.
Yes, I do. For the price of 1 year of this service.
Is this something you might find helpful, you think?
Yeah. Totally, right?
Yeah.
So, I think that it's a great idea, given that, the idea of, because I've been there, right? Yeah. I've been in the seat of looking for people and making phone calls and sending out like 100 in-mails and getting like 5 responses.
Yeah.
It's
challenging.
It is. It's very challenging. And I think in a way, we as recruiters like that. We like the hunt, right? We're engaged with the hunt.
Yeah.
Not that if it's easier, that'd be great. But to be able to say, don't go here, don't go here, don't go here, go here.
Yeah.
Like a fish finder.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's two, as we think about AI and data and its use in the world.
You can't use fish finder either. I've trademarked all these things. Andy, call our lawyer.
I think there's 2 points of view, right? There's the point of view is this technology going to displace or going to replace this function, or is it going to augment this function? Yeah. So very clearly we're on the side of augmentation, right? Like we think that this is something that's going to be enabler and
how would
help
it replace? Replace?
No, I don't think that.
Yeah,
that would
of
be
course.
The case.
I don't think. It's operated by. It's not going to be automatic.
No. The idea is it's an enabler.
Yeah,
it basically helps people be far more productive.
Yeah. I don't think. I don't know if you will produce something that's AI driven that would just be like someone could just talk into it and it does everything.
I think a lot of companies are claiming to do that, but I think we're still a ways away from that being a reality.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool what you did. So what were some of the challenges that you found in building this?
Yeah. I think a couple of the big challenges were when we were initially building the product, we had almost 10,000 customer requests that have come up over the last 3 years that we had to process and try to sort of understand what are key themes here. There's lots of different ways that clients were asking for this data, for example, like a feed or getting this integrated in their HCM. So I think all of those things are on the roadmap. Those are things that we want to address. But our primary goal is to make this as accessible as possible for everybody, which is why our starting point was basically to build this as a self-service platform that you can kind of log into and get the information you need in the form of reports. Over time, you mentioned the idea of like the supercharging recruiter. That's a great idea. That's actually something the team is currently working on today. And we're also thinking about the other places where this kind of information would be super valuable. For example, if you're a recruiter who's also focused on employer branding, being able to see this information in Campaign Manager, which is our ad targeting platform, like this would be very helpful for you.
Sure.
Learning development. So you obviously know about Lynda, which is our learning platform. Exactly.
Yeah. So Lynda.com was bought by LinkedIn. Lynda.com is a web.
Yeah,
tell people what Lynda. I mean, they may not know.
So Lynda,
Lynda.
Lynda is what LinkedIn Learning are basically. It's our learning platform. So we produce a lot of content that allows employees, allows members to basically develop new skills. And one of the top
classes in like Excel or PowerPoint, for example.
And it's both hard skills like that as well as soft skills like communication, leadership, things of that nature. And yes, I mean, surprisingly, very frequently when I have conversations with business leaders, they'll say hard skills are the things that they kind of screen for in resumes. But when they think about what really makes a difference in, once you've got the person in the door, it's actually their proficiency around some of these softer skills, the ability to lead, persuade, convince.
Integrity.
Yeah, and integrity.
We don't even test for that.
Yeah, many customers don't, but if you don't, it'll mean the end of your business, right? And so we want to think about helping people advance along their path, right? And so Lynda is a platform that allows you to do this. Well, those same people, so both individual people as well as executives in a company, they have questions along the lines of how should we actually be developing our talent over time? What does the market say will be skills that will be in demand? What are things that will be hard for us to go acquire later? How are our peers actually developing or acquiring these skill sets? And so being able to look at this and then, kind of connect the dot and say, we also want to, now that we understand what are the macro trends in the market, how do we actually progress our talent along this path? That's what Lynda's hoping to accomplish. Yeah.
So what were your biggest aha moments in this process? 18 months, talked to a lot of folks. What were the things that you learned that were like, wow, that's interesting what people are asking for? But before you answer that question, I wanted to just give some feedback to LinkedIn.
Yeah.
One of the things that some companies do, like Smart Recruiters, is they have a website where, as a user, I can go there and I can say, please change this.
Yeah.
And other users will vote on it. And then, in fact, they change it.
Yeah.
Like there was a point in time where they were doing 3 or 4 changes every month.
Yeah.
And things were coming off the list.
Yeah. So
I think that would make, because one of the things I don't particularly like about LinkedIn is that we don't communicate.
Yeah.
Right. It's not. I can maybe send in an email, but it's not really a whole lot of two-way communication.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that being said, what were some of the biggest aha moments over the last year and a half?
Yeah. I think one of the big aha moments has basically been how ubiquitous these types of questions are. I expected this to be, my initial thinking was like, it's the largest companies that have talent analytics teams that are sort of going to see the most value or have these types of questions. But as we spoke to customers of all size ranges, we kind of we started to recognize like, hey, actually these types of questions come up everywhere because we're in a fundamental shift where the most valuable asset that any company has, it's not its financial capital, it's not its like physical assets, it's actually its people, because we're moving towards a knowledge-based economy, right? And so if you want to win in any market, if you want to succeed, you need to be able to acquire good talent. And not just acquire it, but if you want to work on really hard problems, you can't have people that are just kind of churning, right? You want to hire really smart people, and you want them to be with you for a while. You want them to evolve and be able to grow the company because you can, the longer a team is together, a lot of times the more difficult problems they can start to solve. What we want to do is help companies understand that and help guide sort of, improve retention and guide their employees along this journey as well.
So one of the things that I've learned this week here at the conference is that is that the thing that people don't bring to the workplace is their own leadership.
Yeah.
So like an intention to really excel at my job. Like we're order takers often. You know, what does my boss want me to do? What's the minimum I have to do to keep my job?
Yeah.
And that we don't lean into our job and say, how can I make what I'm doing better?
Yeah.
We just, you know, our blinders are on. And for whatever reasons, you know, and I think it's fundamentally though that we, as in American business, don't create a workplace, a context that is nurturing to that. And I say nurturing not in a, you know, a kind of mushy way, but like we don't have that kind of fertile ground to say, okay, we are going to do whatever we need to do to make this a great place for you to work so that you do bring those things. Because what you're saying is absolutely true.
Yeah.
You know, I've had other guests and everyone's like, oh, 2 years, 3 years, that's it. And people, I think that you can say that and make it kind of trite, like, oh, well, whatever. But we aren't going to achieve the great successes
that we need.
Totally. I mean, you know, the whole NASA space program took a decade of people working together to figure out. I mean, if they had churn, we would have never gotten there.
Totally. Yeah.
Right. So how are we going to get beyond these, solve some of these big problems? Without what you're saying. And if you can make that business case, and if you can provide companies with some solutions to that, I think that would be incredibly valuable. That if you guys can start getting into helping with culture or helping with retention in a real way.
I think that's absolutely, so that is part of the thesis behind moving into talent insights. That's part of the thesis around, you know, moving into learning products. It's this understanding that we want to, you know, serve clients and we also want to serve members and help guide them, you know, along this journey, right? And you know, as we think about the importance of doing this, it's exactly what it comes down to is we want to help customers, we want to help organizations be able to tackle some of the biggest challenges that we face, right? As a community, right? As a nation, and in order to do that, by shining a light on you know, these types of challenges, but also the opportunities to improve. That's actually what's going to do this. And so, I'm super proud of that work.
Sure, that's amazing. And I got to say, just as a, you know, as a customer of LinkedIn, I have a lot of optimism that you guys are going to create something that's, you know, in the future, whenever that is, if it's a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road, that really can be valuable. Like you have a lot of the potential there. You have this incredible infrastructure, you have this incredible graph. That the possibility to help people solve big problems is there.
It's all about taking baby steps and moving along the right direction.
Yes,
that's what we're trying to do.
Right. Even for big companies with resources, it's all about taking baby steps.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share with the audience before you leave?
No, I think that's about it. Thanks
and how
so
can
much.
Folks reach out to you?
So they can reach me on LinkedIn. So I think the best way to do that is actually to message me.
Sure, and spell your name?
Sure, it's Dan Francis, DanFrancis. And they can, you know, anyone can reach me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks
so much for coming. And you've been listening to the Lorne Epstein Show. I'm your host, Lorne Epstein, and we'll see you next week here on 96.7 FM in Arlington, Virginia.